What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Modern Mortgage Show, where I interview mortgage professionals who share their stories and valuable information about the industry. I'm your host, Rocco, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today's show. His name is Brian Methner, and he's the owner and managing partner at Kalamazoo Mortgage out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Brian, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Another wonderful week.
Thank you for being here. So, Brian, can you please tell us about yourself? Maybe give us a brief introduction of who you are.
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, I'm the owner of Kalamazoo Mortgage in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. I started on the retail side at HSBC, and then in 2009, about 11 years ago this month, when they left North America, I went off my own. Started just as a 100% commission loan officer, and then in May of 2011, I got a business partner. We opened up a small correspondent branch. It was just the two of us in May of 11. And then, we're coming up on our ninth year this year. We've got a team of roughly 20 people now. We originate about 600 loans a year in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And just really enjoying what we do.
Wow.
Since that time, we've branched off into other businesses. We've opened up an insurance agency to help supplement our mortgage income, as well as a few other entities as well.
So how long have you been in the industry for?
15 years.
15 years. And how'd you get your start?
So I started right out of undergrad. In 2005, I went to work for HSBC on their retail side at a branch here. I was a loan officer there for about a year. They called them account executives. And then after about a year and a half into that, I promoted up to become a branch sales manager. So I went through that training program, and which is a pretty intense program, a lot of travel and whatnot, because they serviced everything they wrote. So you did everything from prospect to lead to go knock on the door, and they didn't pay their mortgage bill. So it was kind of it was a good experience for me, because it showed me all aspects of lending, not just the origination side. You're more in tune to the back office, to the collections, to the servicing. So that was invaluable experience for me.
Yeah. So you said you came right out of college to the mortgage industry?
I say that, yeah, but I was a non-traditional college student in a sense. I graduated high school, went to college for a year, went in the Marine Corps. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went back. I was going to officer candidate school. So I was a semester away from graduation with a political science degree. I got hurt. So then at the time, I was fortunate enough where my mom got a job at a college where I could have basically started all over, got my business degree, and had a tuition credit for most of the cost, a big chunk of the cost. So I took advantage of that. So, I graduated my undergraduate. I was about 27 years old when I graduated. It was after my military service, after all that. So it was, I was out of college, but it was in a lot of senses, I wasn't 21 years old.
Well, thank you for your service, first off.
Thank you.
Why did you want to get into the mortgage industry?
So it's weird. At the time, my desire, I went to school, and everything that I trained for was to be like pharmaceutical or medical sales. And then after I saw what that field looked like, I wasn't big on it. And I've always been fascinated with like numbers and personal finance. I bought my first house when I was 20. I had 20 rental properties when I was in college. But when I was in it, I accepted a job at Eli Lilly, which is a pharmaceutical sales company. And I had one last place to interview with. When they called me in, the guy that interviewed me, who was actually my general manager now, at the time he was my sales manager's district manager, and now he runs all of our operations. But I went through what I didn't like about it, and what I loved about this business is it's unlimited income. Like you get in, you get out what you put in, and that I was really attracted to that, because I've never had an hourly job in my life. Like every job I've ever had has always been tips or commission or whatever. So the thought of going to a salary position, I wasn't big on it.
So you said you guys do about over 600 loans a year.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what would you say is the most satisfying or rewarding thing about your job?
So with us, we started with a pretty clearly defined mission, and that was we want to do it differently. We saw a lot of, in 2009, 10, 11, we saw a lot of the smaller shops getting pushed out of town and left nothing but the big banks. And to us, we saw them come in here. They would take our paychecks. They would leave town. But if you so much as asked them to sponsor a little league team, they would tell you no. So, part of our mission statement is giving back to the communities that we serve. 2 years after we opened, we started the Kalamazoo Mortgage Hero Salute, which is a nonprofit that gives back to police, fire, and veteran-related charities. We started that with a golf outing 5 or 6 years ago. Our first year we raised $7,000 doing it. It was okay, but that nonprofit has since turned into something where we've got the largest veteran golf outing in Michigan. It's on 4 golf courses. We shotgun over 400 golfers. This year we've got a general coming from Washington, D.C. to speak at the event. We raised almost $100,000 last year. And we've also used that as a platform to start other nonprofits. Like we helped the state police start their own nonprofit. And, we stock veterans food shelves and things like that. So in a lot of senses, the mortgage business can burn you out in a hurry if you let it. And we found a way to take up what we're very passionate about and use the mortgage platform to kind of fuel that. And in return, we believe it helps the mortgage business as well. So it's kind of a win-win.
Absolutely. So you said you started Kalamazoo Mortgage in 2011?
Yeah, May of 2011.
And what was your main driving force to start your own shop?
Well, a lot of things were happening at that time. If you can recall, that was right about the time that LO comp went into effect, where everything changed. The comp plan changed. Everything changed. When you looked at the rate sheet, you could kind of see what was happening. I think that law had a lot of unintended consequences, or we didn't feel we could maintain our earnings under the current plan, under the new plan. Furthermore, the biggest thing with us was, our motto is where you're a neighbor, not a number. And there was a lot of things happening with service levels during that time that we weren't on board with. Me and my business partner now, we've always been focused on purchases. We've never bought in the refi hype. Obviously we're doing some right now because of the environment, but it was never our goal. We wanted to focus on realtor relationships. First-time home buyers has always been our niche. We feel like that's a market that is never going to go away. And if you can start with a first-time home buyer, you can end with a third-time home buyer. And that's kind of the approach that we've done. And so that's kind of what fueled it is, everybody's got their story as to what pushed them. For my business partner personally, he had to reschedule like $1.5 million closing 3 times because the bank kept telling him it's going to be clear to close. And 3 times he had to call the guy and push this closing back, which $1.5 million in Michigan can buy you like islands. Like our houses are not that expensive. So that for him, that was it. For me, it was just, I wanted more control over the process.
Okay. So what would you say were your biggest struggles or obstacles you guys faced early on?
Not getting out of our own way. I think one of the greatest assets you can have as a branch manager is the ability to delegate and surround yourself with people that can do things better than you. I think that's one of the, I think having a limited mindset, too many times people, they make too many decisions, focus on the short term without being understanding what can happen long term. I think that having a clearly defined, written down mission and set of core values that you can work from, and every single day, like our core values are plastered on our walls, our mission statements out in front. We hire on them, we fire on them, we use them to solve problems, and I think those 3 things, are vitally important to any business, mortgage, or any other business.
Absolutely. Those who want quick wins, they might get their quick short-term wins, but when you're focused long-term and long-term minded, you definitely will build something more long-lasting and successful.
Yeah. Yep.
So what?
Risk too. Like most people, to do what we did at the time, it was unheard of because most people were taking the draws from the banks and stuff like that to stay. And to me, that was like blood money is what I always called it, because they would trap you, and the people that took the draws, we've seen them, every 2 years in November, they change jobs for their 90-day draw to get them back into the spring purchase market in Michigan. And it's just a joke. It's like a tour, we call it.
Yeah. So what tips or advice would you give to someone like yourself back in 2011? So you were talking back to yourself or someone in a position like yours. What tips or advice would you give to them?
I think, one of my favorite quotes, I think it was by Bezos, where he talks about being, firm in the mission, but flexible in the details. And I think that's very important, is that you've got to have a clearly defined mission, but, you're going to have to make changes, along the way to get there. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to make changes. They're afraid to take chances. They're afraid to, They're afraid to take risk. I think that in the mortgage business specifically, it's very easy to fall into like the deal of the month mentality, where I think you now more than ever, you got to watch your expenses. Like it's very easy to get sold on something where they say, hey, if you make one deal a month, it's the Zillow close, right? Like if you can sell somebody the fact that you're going to close one thing a month, it's going to pay for the service. And before you know it, your spread's so thin that, and you're getting just financially bludgeoned. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So in recent years, technology has really made an impact in the industry.
It's everything.
Has revolutionized it. So how would you say this has affected you in your business?
So we have been one thing that we're, if we could have done it 2 years sooner, I would have, and that's a CRM. Like a lot of places, it still amazes me how they have their information and data 15 different places. And to me, that's, if you're trying to grow and scale, it doesn't work that way. Like your CRM's got to be able to capture all the vital information. You should be able to access it from your phone. And that should be the platform which you run your business, not just everything from lead generation until after that file closes. Like it should all be in one place. That's very important. And more than ever now, we've seen that the evolution of the first-time home buyer. I mean, we have people calling us off of Zillow leads, and we'll go back and we had the same conversation with them 4 years ago. Like, I'm tired of renting. My credit sucks. What do I do? And we can go back and say, hey, you called us off Realtor.com lead, 3 years ago. So I think for the technology, you got to have a fully functioning CRM. I think that moving forward towards the future, video is more important than ever. You're going to see, especially now that we're all on quarantine and lockdown, I think in the next 2 months, you're going to see a lot more video than what you've ever seen. I think that people have got to be able to understand that, with customers today, it's all about the experience, and the technology should not replace the experience. The technology should enhance the experience. When Rocket Mortgage came out, from everything that I've read or the people that I've talked to, I mean, that was a product that was targeted towards millennials. Everything about it screams millennial, right? But when it came out, if you look at the amount of applications that start Rocket Mortgage but finish with an actual loan officer, the people that are taking advantage of the Rocket Mortgage are the older borrowers that have been through the process a million times and don't want to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. But the millennials, like the first-time home buyers, they get halfway through and they enjoy the technology, but then at the end of the day, they still want the education, they want the experience, they want their questions answered, they want to feel like their purchase makes a difference, and you can't do that 100% through technology.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up the CRM. It's definitely something that takes time to manage and be organized in it. And if you take notes, like you said you did, you can really leverage that, and it's an effective system to just organize and systemize everything in your business.
It is, and I'd recommend, if it's not customizable, it's not going to work for you. Like people can sell you anything over the phone, but if you can't make the changes to adapt that CRM system to your internal process, and you can't think about it as your internal process when it's you and a business partner. Like if you're going to think big and at some point down the road, you're going to have 30 people on your team, like you've got to be able to delegate those files out and manage those leads, that thing. Like ours is set up. I mean, whether we get a Zillow, a sign call, a Realtor.com, or a Facebook lead, it all maps automatically through our CRM and it rotates the appropriate people. I mean, that took a lot of time to set up and build, but there's not a lot of ones out of the box that will provide that.
For sure. So you mentioned Facebook lead, Zillow, Realtor.com. So what modern strategies are you using to scale production?
With us, we, about 3 years ago, we took a position where we wanted to become less dependent upon realtors, because I'm not long on that industry. I see too many forces coming in from the outside that I think are going to gradually chew away at the realtor business. So we want to become, we want to get to the point where we were generating as many leads as we were receiving in. So we've taken advantage of one thing that we do well. Obviously, we talked about the work we do in the community, where we get a lot. I mean, our phone rings on our website. We get 130 web applications a month. We get we advertise on the radio. We do Facebook leads. We still have some partnerships in place for the Zillows, but I think we're down to like 3 partnerships on that now. We used to be over 20. And then obviously, and I can't stress this enough, is if you're going to try to scale a brand, you've got to have you've got to have a system in place for online 5-star reviews, because if you cannot do that, it's inevitable. You're always going to get a 1-star. At some point, somebody's going to get denied for something that's out of your control, and they're going to go online and trash you. So in order to combat that, you got to be proactive up front and be constantly, from day one when you talk to the customers, hey, our goal is to deliver a 5-star experience. At the end of this process, I will ask you for a 5-star review. If anything's going to prevent me from doing that, like it's driven our people's heads, and our processors talk to customers about 5-star reviews.
That's definitely a smart strategy that you're using. So you mentioned that video is big in the future. Do you see anything else, or where do you see all of this going in the future?
I think that you're going to see a lot more interaction with video. I'm really curious to see what the effects of the current, COVID-19 thing has, and the impact it's going to have on business long term. One, I think that if this thing goes 30 to 45 days, I think it's going to people are going to adapt. Like, we're Americans, we adapt and we overcome. It's what we do. I think that what you're going to see is I think you could see a lot more. I think you could see that this could be the birth of the telecommuting era, where how dependent upon brick and mortar offices do we need to be if you can be 80% productive working from home, and you can eliminate a $10,000 a month rent payment that allows you to go hire 2.5 more people. I can see a lot of businesses making that decision. So I think video can be important for that. I think that using it for face-to-face appointments when customers, when they can't come in your office, I think that's important. From a marketing standpoint, I think you're going to see a lot more of it done through Facebook, through remarketing, remessaging, retargeting, things like that. And I think that with what's happening right now with television, I think almost a half of the country's cut the cord on cable. And if you look at like certain OTT campaigns right now, I mean, you can run in Michigan right now, you can run 120,000 targeted 30-second TV commercials on streaming TV for like $5,000 a month, where you're targeting age, demographic. I mean, you can get around all the fair housing rules that Facebook has in place, but you're allowed to do it through that. And it's not like you're trying to skirt the rules, but I mean, you can target by age and by location and by renter versus own. I mean, that's a very cost-effective way to get a video message out to folks. And I think that's going to be the next big thing until, the next big thing.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, definitely technology is making things easier if you allow it to make it easier for your business. I mean, we're streaming live on Facebook. All I did was send you a link. And
right.
You're in Michigan, I'm in Chicago, so it definitely can make things very, very easier. But let's go to the buyer side now. So what do you see as the biggest misconception or fear that your clients have before working with you in regards to getting a loan?
It's so weird, because one thing that I do is, because we do the AdWords and all that stuff, and when the customer comes in, I'm not really on the origination side anymore. But I take time to get to know my customers. I do my best to talk to them twice during every transaction, which I have 160 loan pipeline right now with my 2 loan officers. So we're constantly, that takes a lot of work. When I listen to the calls, because most of our calls when they come in for the first time are monitored, it seems like the majority of our customers that call us first, not the realtor referrals, when they call us first, we're tired of throwing our money away on rent. We want to buy a house. We don't know where to start. And it's where they're at. It's interesting because every single customer that we do business with has a checking account. Wherever they keep that checking account, they offer mortgages. So why are they calling us? We try to make the experience a little bit different. We've got to position ourselves a little bit differently from where they cash their paychecks. But I think just having them have something that they can know, like, and trust, that's going to sit down, explain the options, and guide them through the process. That's the most important thing, I think, to the first-time home buyers today. I mean, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about a millennial buyer, and that's driving 50% of the purchase, I think, in today's market. I could be wrong on that, but that was the last thing I read, is that, they're not the most price-sensitive age demographic we've ever had come through the supply chain. I mean, for the most part, they're not that price sensitive. They want ease of use. They want, immediate response to communication. They want to feel like their purchase makes a difference. Like if you can accomplish those three things, if you can make it easy, you can educate them, and you can make them believe that their purchase makes a difference, like you're positioned very well to capture that business.
Absolutely. Definitely, it's important to nurture and educate your leads that come in. And also, like you said, why not call your bank? They all have checking accounts. They all have a bank. And that really comes back to your authority that you built up. Like you were saying, a strategy with those 5-star reviews. I'm sure they saw those. Wow, these guys really know what they're doing. They have a lot of 5-star reviews, and let's talk to them.
Well, and I think when I always say this to customers for the first time, I take as much pride in those 1-star reviews as I do the 5-star reviews. And we don't have a ton of 1-stars. I think if we got 200 or 300 5-stars, we might have 5 1-stars. But I've had customer after customer after customer tell us that they came to us because of our response to the 1-star reviews. And we don't hide from it. There's a couple where there some customers you can never please, never make happy. That is what it is. But there's a couple where we flat out drop the ball. I mean, if you do 600 loans a year, you're going to screw a couple of them up without question. You're going to miss a pre-approval. You're going to, things happen. And the fact is that we don't hide from it. If it's our mistake, we clearly, we acknowledge it, we own it, and we learn from it and we move on. Every checklist that we have in our office is just a documented list of mistakes we made somewhere along the process, That's why we have checklists.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a great time talking with you, and I really appreciate your time.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to all the viewers for watching, and we will see you again next episode.